Where haven't we been yet? We've been from Tallinn to Rakvere. We've been from Rakvere to Narva. We've been on a day trip to Haapsalu. And although it took 2 attempts, we've managed to visit Tartu. We've also been to Pärnu, but we haven't been to any of the islands yet. Saaremaa, the largest of the Estonian islands. That's an obvious destination. But is it too far from Tallinn for a day trip? What about bus, Tallinn to the coast, ferry across to Muhu, bus all the way down to Kuressaare? Kuressaare has an airport. Tallinn has an airport. This makes things more interesting. I wonder. Hey, why not? Can give it a go. What could possibly go wrong? What madness is afoot? Well, actually there may be a little bit of madness later on in our trip today. On 2 feet. A walk around Kuressaare. Kuressaare, the main city on the largest of Estonia's islands, Saaremaa. And the big question is it feasible to visit Saaremaa on a day trip from Tallinn? On the face of it, it doesn't look particularly attractive. That prospect doesn't really give more than, say, 6 hours on Saaremaa, specifically in Kuressaare. However, there's more to it than meets the eye. For a start, of course, nobody likes the idea of a 4-hour bus trip and a 4-hour bus trip to come back again in the evening. Yeah, that doesn't look good. Not for me, thanks. But looking a little bit closer, what we see is this 4-hour trip actually consists of a 2-hour bus trip, then this 30-minute ferry journey, which we are embarking on currently. And I think we can see our bus down on the lower decks there. Somewhere-ish in the distance, the Lux Express. Yes, and from here we will disembark. Passengers will get back on that bus, and the short bus journey continues. Relatively short bus journey, less than 2 hours obviously this time, just over an hour, from Muhu Island, which is connected by a bridge, to Saaremaa. Then we drive down towards the south of Saaremaa to the main settlement of Kuressaare. Okay, so that sounds reasonable, but do I really want to do the journey in reverse, coming back at the end of the day? Well, here's the thing, you don't have to, because there is actually a daily flight from Tallinn to Kuressaare and back. Now, I suppose if you really wanted to do it, you could fly there early in the morning, have longer in Kuressaare, and fly back again to Tallinn. But I'm mixing things up a little bit to make the trip more interesting and to save a bit of money. But the flight I'm taking is costing €23. That will be from Kuressaare early evening. I think it's 7:40 this evening. The flight, which only lasts 40 minutes, can you believe it, will take me back to Tallinn. Absolutely great. So yeah, that cuts out a lot of time travelling and sitting on a bus, which I wouldn't want to do, and I don't imagine many people would fancy the prospect of that. So, could it go wrong? Possibly. Could I check in online earlier? No, so I've not been able to guarantee my actual allocated seat on the flight. I've got a flight ticket, that's for sure. Bought it online, but I couldn't do the online check-in, and maybe it's because Kuressaare is a small airport and the online check-in facility isn't available on this route. That's what I'm holding out the hope for anyway, because I really don't want to be told at 7 o'clock or at 6:30 this evening, sorry, we don't seem to be able to find your flight. We've got no record of your booking. I've got all the itinerary with me, all the reference numbers and things, and so hopefully when I get to Kuressaare airport later, there'll be no problem, but we'll see. All part of the adventure, I suppose. But it's good to know that the flight will cost you less than €30 to get back to Tallinn, whatever happens, come what may. So you won't be stranded in Kuressaare if anything has gone wrong, or if your plans have just changed, or if you just need to take a flight spontaneously from Kuressaare. It's not an expensive flight. Yeah, it's only 40 minutes, but it gets you back to Tallinn rather quickly and conveniently. So I'm quite happy with spending the money on the flight, spending the money on the ferry bus trip to get to Kuressaare, and shelling out €10 to actually visit Kuressaare Castle. Now, I know many of you will be thinking, hang on, that doesn't seem right. I thought this guy's about inexpensive budget travelling. I thought he's full of all these ideas of saving money on accommodation. Looks as though the guy never spends a penny on anything. Probably sleeps at the bus station, or on a bench in the park, or maybe hangs out at 24-hour convenience stores, finishing up leftover meals and the dregs of other people's coffee that are lying around the place. But no, that isn't actually what I get up to. I am all about saving money, but that said, as I've mentioned in previous videos, because I save money where I see there's a saving to be had, I feel more comfortable spending money when I see that there's something I feel it's worth spending money on. I think that makes sense for all of us, doesn't it? So here, visiting Saaremaa for a day trip, am I going to be recommending it at the end of the day? I'm not sure. it seemed like a brilliant, spontaneous idea I had nearly at midnight a couple of days ago to go ahead and make this booking, so I did it. And what I would normally say is, if you're coming to Saaremaa, give yourself a good few days, particularly in summer. There's a lot to see and do. Bring your own bicycle, motorbike, car. You can have an even more fantastic time. You can really enjoy going around the island, seeing all the lighthouses, the windmills, the farmsteads, and between Saaremaa and Muhu, the connecting island, then you can see moose, if you're lucky, maybe a bear, maybe a pack of wolves even. Who knows? There are wolves on Saaremaa. You might feel like visiting some old stone churches, historic manors, and what else is there? There's the prehistoric crater that was left in a meteor shower hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years ago. So, yeah, there's a lot of varied things that you can do here. And of course, there are all the little boat trips that you can take as well, if you've got the good weather. And this brings me back to the point that when I visited Saaremaa twice before, it rained consistently. And yeah, so I'm feeling now on my third visit to Saaremaa that, okay, I can do without setting my stall out too much to do a whole lot of things. And no, I don't really want to be on Saaremaa for several days if the weather should turn. Therefore, having been in that situation twice before, this time I'm content to attempt a day trip which focuses just on that Kuressaare castle. Why not? I think it's a very interesting historic monument structure in its own right, and also it has what seems to be a very good museum within it, within the building. So whether this camera is up to filming indoors, I'm not sure. Whether I'm allowed to film indoors with the camera, I don't know. We'll have to see. I might have to pay a little extra for that, or maybe they'll just say no cameras. Perhaps the footage of the camera will be unusable because it's not the greatest camera in the world, as we've already discovered. That all said, it's a bit of a different day trip. I'm certainly looking forward to it very much, and hopefully there'll be some things within the video which actually make you consider this as either a day trip which sounds attractive to you for, what, 40 euros, say, 35, 40 euros it would cost to get there and back, plus 10 euros for the castle museum. But with all those savings that we've made along the way, why not splash out and treat ourselves? Hopefully it will all work out. The ferry hasn't sunk so far, which is always a good thing. The water is nice and still. You know, I'm not a good traveller, really. Motion sickness can be a problem for me. But on a little ferry like this, going across in mill pond conditions, absolutely no worries whatsoever. So I'm as happy as a sandfly. It's all gone so well so far, almost too well. Should I be concerned? No, of course not. We've got to think positive, haven't we? Right. I'll see you on the other side, where the journey continues. Some good advice on the door of the gents on the ferry. Absolutely normal to keep away from toxic people. Time now to get back on the bus. I just tried my hand with a Dyson's air blade. Oh, such a good feeling. You know what I mean? Going down. Whoa! Vertigo. And just 5 minutes away from the ferry. We're on the island of Muhu. And we've reached the settlement of Liiva. This is quite possibly where you'd get off the bus if you were going to stay on Muhu. Overnight accommodations available right here in the little settlement. If you brought your own camping equipment, a tent, or if you're driving with a camper van, or if like me you've got neither and you just fancy spending a night or two in one of their little wooden triangular houses, the costs are reasonable, particularly ideally if there are two of you, because the little wooden houses are designed for two people, two single beds, and you've got the typical campground shared showers, etc. So Liiva is the place on Muhu, which is the ideal stop if you're coming with the bus or under your own steam and you want to spend overnight on the island.